Right, guys, how are we doing? Can anybody hear me? Is this thing on? Yay, sound. Fantastic. Yeah, really sorry about that, guys. Was trying to use a new piece of software. I was trying to use Minicam and have various cameras up and running and various things going on. And unfortunately, it's not worked out. So I'm really sorry for the late start. I have no idea how many of you are actually watching now. One. So, Gusner, it's you and me only at the moment, kid. So we'll see what we can do. The reason why I posted about a safety issue, nice to see you, Derek. Thanks very much for tuning in. The next issue is going to be that the battery in this camera is going to die. So that could be interesting, but we'll cross that bridge as we come to it. And also, I've got a DPD delivery, which is going to be here in about 20 minutes. So we might have a special guest presenter. Well, not presenter, but a special guest star of the DPD driver bringing in me in some new work tables, which will be quite amusing. So, yeah, basically, the reason why I've put on about a safety issue, I don't know whether some of you guys know about this or not, but I will show you. I have taken my partially assembled Ender 3 to pieces. And the reason for that is this here. Let me see if I can get that into focus for you. This is a cutaway that they've done underneath where the control box sits. So it's this way up and the control box sits in here. And they've cut this section of the extrusion away to put the cables through. Now, these edges are absolutely razor sharp, and I mean absolutely razor sharp. And I have seen photographs of people with cut wires actually through to the metal. And if you have two of those touching, you're going to have a serious issue. Now, razor, yeah, razor as in shaving razor. Now, there is a guy who was on one of the Facebook pages this morning who has actually printed a little surround which goes into there like that, and one for the other side as well, which takes these sharp edges off. Now, my intention was to print those this morning, but one thing led to another, and it just hasn't happened. Yes, duct tape is exactly what I'm going to go and get in a minute, Derek, because I did intend on printing these little things. If you measure the size of the gap, I think it's 60 mil long and 20 mil deep, and that's the size he's done on Thingiverse. I'll try and find you a link to that at some point. I was kind of hoping that I could do all this and have all this swap to this camera and show you that it's not going to work. I'm sorry, guys. I will work on it. Duct tape, hammer, WD-40s. Yeah, I fixed my Land Rover with that. Yeah, that's absolutely right. So, yeah, the first thing we've got to do with this is get something on there to make it safe. So I've taken it all apart. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run off and find that magic duct tape. So if you just bear with me for 2 seconds, talk amongst yourselves. Just stand back a moment. I'm back in the room. I should be with you shortly. Just bear with me. So here I have some magic duct tape. But this is, well, you asked for it, Gusner, didn't you? So I thought, what the hell? And of course the camera's better because we're in daylight now. We're not having to worry about silly things at night like I was doing. So I am just going to Just going to put some duct tape. For now, I promise you, I will print these parts up that I found this morning, and I will fit them properly, but just for now, I shall stick a good old bit of duct tape over the top. Or gaffer tape, it used to be called in the good old days. And I don't know why. I suppose it was something to do with whether it was something to do with the film industry or something like that. But yeah, for some reason it used to be called gaffer tape when I was a lad, and it then became duct tape. And I guess it's tape for ducting, which is why they call it duct tape. That would make sense. So I'm making a right mess of this, but the important thing is that we're safe, isn't it, really? That's the most important thing with all of this. So yeah, please, please, please do look at your own machine. Make sure that these cables, where they came through, I don't think any of mine are actually through to the inner core, but it did look a little bit interesting. Now, I'm going to need somebody's help now, because in my speed to take this lot apart this morning, I unwired the power in. Right, I've disconnected. That's the power that comes out of the control box, and I can't remember which way around the two cables were. Now, I could flick to my other machine and look it up, but I would prefer it if somebody could actually just flash online or look at their own machine or find something for me and tell me which way around those two go into there. I'm fairly certain it's that way. You can't see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. You see, this is the thing with me cameras. I'm fairly certain it goes in. No, you can't see. Let me bring you down a bit. Excuse me, you're going to shake and wobble. But then that's nothing new, is it? Let's just bring you down on the camera. I'll tell you, it's all right. It's the same board. It's the Creality version 1.1.2. It's the same board as the original CR10, which I have over there. So I could take the top off that and actually look. But yeah, it's the 1.1.2. And we're looking at those two wires there going into this block here. And I can't remember which way around they were. I know, massive oversight on my part. Let me just see if I can. Ooh, extreme close up. Does that look a bit grainy to you guys, or is that a bit clear? Because it looks a tad grainy to me, does that picture? But I can't help that at the moment. Yes, I know multimeter saves lives, but it's the main power in. So how do I check which way around is the correct continuity until I've got it in? And of course, the board doesn't actually say on it, which is a fat lot of good. There's no actual... All the rest say 12 volt ground, 12 volt ground, 12 volt ground on them. So I'm guessing it's the same way around. Guessing. It's always good to guess, isn't it, when you play with electricity? It's only 24 volts, though. So, you know, what's the worst that can happen? My hair will stand on end. You'd be surprised to hear that there's no beer this evening. Gusnet, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I could just do a continuity check on the earth side, couldn't I? And if it beeps, that would then tell me which side it is. But you know, I don't think I've got a multimeter in here. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I've run off again. I'm coming back. I'm expecting this DPD driver any minute with my work tables that I was going to use to do this. Just let me zoom out. Right, so I've got my fluke here. So we'll put that on continuity. So if I go to what I think is the negative terminal, is that one, and I think there's a negative terminal on there, which is that one. Okay, so that tells me that's the negative side, doesn't it? Because that's giving me a continuity test through there. If I was to do the positive side to the negative side, I get nothing. So there you go. And that's positive to positive on there. And we are indeed getting it. So there we go. That's the answer. Thanks, guys. You see, that's why I need you here. Perfect. So, out with the little screwdriver here, and we will put those wires in now then. I'll probably have to do this off camera because, like I say, like I've apologised for already, I was trying to sort things out. So I have more than one camera and all sorts of still shots for you to look at. So what I intend on doing with this live stream is, oh, you have to excuse me while I'm talking and doing stuff at the same time, and that's never a good idea. What I'm going to intend to do with this live stream is actually build this with nothing but the tools that are provided with it, because I've got all sorts of top screws and all sorts of, you know, posh screwdriver sets and socket sets and goodness knows what else, as we all have. But I wanted to just do this with what comes in the kit, because this way, if you haven't bought one yet and you're considering it, you can see, is it possible, you know, with what you come supplied with. But firstly, and most importantly, please, guys, check this. Make sure that this stuff is safe. In fact, I'm going to put a bit more on because I do not want anybody either blowing themselves up, setting fire to anything, burning their motherboard out. You know, it's an issue. It's an issue that I think Creality ought to do something about, because those edges are absolutely like razors, and it's not going to take much movement of your cables rubbing on those to cut through them, and you're going to have serious issues. I don't know whether anybody else has discussed it on their videos. I don't know how many of you have seen it anywhere else, but I saw it and I panicked. I've got to say, I thought, oh God, no, let's please not have this broken before we start. So we have it taped up. So that's a start. What I also did was, trying to be intelligent, I put the screws back in where they'd come out of, so I knew where they went when I put it all back together. Because I thought, knowing my luck, I'll get all this wrong. I'll just take you back up again, because I've probably got you a bit too far in now, haven't I? So let's zoom you back out a bit, so you can see the mess all over the desk. You can see the other camera that I was going to use. My other monitor that I was going to use for, anyway, that's by the by. So we'll get this bit back together first. So this won't be in your video. This won't be in your instruction manual. This is all above and beyond. So this little box here is held on by, it's shot those two bolts there into the front, and then there's one in the bottom that holds the motherboard in there, and then the lid is just held on by 3 screws. And now I'm throwing the screws all over the place. This is turning into a high quality professional build, isn't it? Stop laughing, anybody that is. It's not fair. If you think you can do a better job, yeah, you know, you camera shy lot. It says me, who's not actually on camera at the moment. So, just going to put that. I'm working in a somewhat restricted zone here at the moment, because my tables didn't turn up, or haven't turned up yet. Right, so we'll get this back together. Why has everybody stopped talking? Have I died? Has everything gone off? I'm doing great. Do you reckon this could be the longest build ever? You know, I could have people falling asleep while I'm doing this. including me, and I now can't find the right size blooming Allen key because it's under there. You see, I make these mistakes so you don't have to. You don't anybody not dropping a bolt during a build. Good, I'm glad to hear it. I don't mind dropping them, it's dropping them and then not being able to find them. That's when the issue comes about. So we'll just stick those 2 bolts back in now. Gosh, my floor's a mess, isn't it? My big tape measure down there, been doing some measuring up today. Where I work at the moment, where I am at the moment, we're having a new water main put in to the property, because at the moment we're all on, we have a borehole, but we want to go on to mains water because we are increasing the number of people that are going to be here. So because of that fact, we want to increase the water supply, and we've been buying some bits and pieces. I might show you a bit later on. That doesn't want to be there. And I've been doing some measuring up this morning. Right, that's me. Z-axis one is that. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, that's the one that has to come out the top. So we are getting there. Still got some more cables to go back in. So we've got all those, we've got all those. That's all my hot end stuff. That's my bed stuff. Right, so we're going the right direction now, aren't we? We're definitely heading in the right direction. We're almost back to where we started. So I've got those, I've got those, I've got those, I've got those. Now, I took some other cables out, didn't I? That's the ones to those for that. So that's right. That's those ones. Now then, what have I got here? That's all those. So they're all right. They're all right. They're all right. It's looking fairly good. Anybody fallen asleep yet? Got to remember which one's my fan. That's my fan. So that one goes back into... What's that one there that I can't read? Yeah, I know, it's really boring. Just want to make sure I've got everything right. So yeah, I hope you all take heed of this little warning that I've given, and make sure you check underneath yours for these nasty sharp edges, because they are horrible, 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 and are going to cause somebody a lot of heartache. And quite right, Creality. I mean, it looks like somebody's done it with an angle grinder, basically. I'm trying to read the chat while I'm doing this, but I'm not doing very well, am I? Right, that screws now got stuck in there. There we go. Talk amongst yourselves. Are we going to run a book on when the DPD driver is going to turn up? Anybody? Right, so we'll have that back in. Can't see the hole. Getting old, guys, the eyes aren't up to the job anymore. There we go, that's that one back in. So, I don't know whether you can see, but those cables literally just come out the back of there, and they were all rubbing. You know, you can see those marks on there, but they were all rubbing on that. And that to me is unacceptable on so many different wavelengths. So now we've got those back in. That's the one for the fan. I'm a little concerned in my excitement this morning of pulling all these cables out. I seem to have a, we just all connected together. It makes life a bit difficult. I seem to have a port there, a socket for a cable, and no cable in it, which is a little concerning. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if I've pulled something out of there and not put it back in. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I've got the fan one there, and then I've got this one next to it, and I can't for the life of me read what it says. It's age, I'm afraid. It will catch up with all of you. And I can't. It says E step, Z stop, and then it's between E step and Z stop. Now, if I could find my mouse, and I go over to my other screen over here. I've just minimized you. Sorry, guys. I somewhere have a diagram of that motherboard, don't I? And it will tell me what that one is. Anyway, it's a fan. That's the Z end stop there. Talk amongst yourselves, whistle a tune, do something. I just want to make sure I've got this right before we go any further. Oh, something I wanted to point out, just to take the stress out of that. You know, they put this stress bracket on that somebody on Thingiverse did. Well, then they've now got rid of the need for a socket on the back. So what they're actually doing now is they are directly soldering. If I can get that up there so you can see. See, they are now directly soldered to the board. There's no plugs involved in that anymore. That's a direct solder job now with that stress relief bracket on. So in theory, that should solve all those problems that people had. I just need to change. I've just realised I'm on top chat and I want to be on live chat because that way I'm not missing anything you happen to say. And if you're not saying anything interesting, why aren't you? Right, just let me pull that over there. Right, so I need to look and find out what that socket was, don't I, before I go any further, because if I cock this up before I put this lid back on, I'm going to look a buffoon, aren't I? Everybody say yes. Yes. I'm still not 100% happy with these cables. They are still... Now, there we are, look. That's what I was looking for. Don't panic, everyone. I just haven't got my tweezers to... Oh, do you know what? I have got my tweezers to hand. That missing plug is actually down here. Quite what I was doing with that, I don't know. But I noticed something was missing from the board, didn't I? You're just going to have to bear with me while I get in and get this plug up, and then we will know where it's from. Ah, so it's the thermistor. That's the one that's not in. Oh, do you know what? I might just take this apart and start again. You weren't going anywhere, were you? Hey, nobody had anything to do this afternoon. So much for building it. All I've done so far is managed to take it apart and make it worse. But we will get there. We will get there. Well, Gusner, you better bloody watch, mate, because this is all happening because of you. You know, I could have done this in peace and quiet and taken hours over it and got it all, you know, looking fantastic. But oh no, you demanded I did it live. So you're here for the duration, mate. Right. Let's get this back off here. Let's put that back over there out of the way. That's the issue, is that cable tie, it isn't in. So we're going to get through that cable tie and we'll cable tie it all back together in a minute. So, yeah, the one that wasn't connected, which is that one, is the thermistor one. So we should put that one into there. Thank you. That wonderful piece of help. Grab some cable ties. I have several thousand, as I'm sure all of you do have. So we'll grab a few cable ties. Just leaves them out of shot for the minute. The messiest build ever. But at least we now have that issue with the sharp edges. Yeah, Gusney, you told me that the other night, didn't you? And I honestly worry about the bloke, because if he's taking him that long to do it, I wonder how much stuff he got wrong. Now, you see, you can't see that, but there's a little bit of fraying on that that cable there, which is the, I think it's a thermistor for the heat bed, the hot bed. But I think it's only a very small rub on the outer material, so we won't worry about it for now. It doesn't look to have gone through, so that's good. Right, we're getting organised now. I'm going to get another cable tie on here as well. Get all these cables neatened up. Is the picture quality all right, guys, or is it a bit grainy? Do I need to alter the settings on my camera? That might not be a good idea, might it? That might be the whole thing dropped to bits again. But it just looks a bit grainy on the feed I'm watching, because I'm watching me, watching you, watching me. Video and audio is good. All right, that's all right then, mate. As long as we're all right. So, we're back on track now. Another 10 minutes and we'll be back where we started. Well, we won't, because I've got to get the carriage back on. And all that malarkey is still to do. But, like I say, we'll get there. Right, so that's looking neater, that's looking better. We've only got one socket left that needs something in it, and that's the fan one. So that's good. So have all you guys already got machines then? Are we already all got your machines, or are some of you still waiting? Or are some of you still deciding whether to buy or not? Just interested to know what sort of people tune in and why. Am I allowed to get something to drink? Maybe I have to switch my tablet so I don't miss anything. And you can't complain that I was AFK. If you want to go AFK, mate, for 10 minutes, that's absolutely fine. You're not going to miss anything. Yours is coming today. Oh, fantastic. I bet you can't wait. You're like me then, waiting for a delivery man to turn up. Good-o. That's all good. That's all good. We're just going to reroute that cable slightly. So yeah, if yours is coming today, do me a favour and check that cut that they've done underneath and make sure that yours isn't sharp and nasty. And anybody that's already got theirs and haven't checked, please do so. You've got no excuses. if you come later and say, oh, no, mine's gone bang. Don't know what happened. Well, you do know what happened because I told you. Right, so we go in there, kids. So, Ebo20, is that how you say your name? How do you say it? Ebu2U. Ebu2U. It's YouTube backwards, isn't it? Oh, you idiot. You see, this is what happens. You get these unintelligent people like me. So, Mr. YouTube backwards. Is it your first machine? Or have you had 3D printers before and you just like me and can't say no when you get a bargain? Be interesting to know. Can't believe I didn't notice that was YouTube backwards. How ridiculous. I know I've stopped talking. I'm concentrating. You're lucky you can't see my face with my tongue stuck out. Trying to get this screw, bolt, whatever you wish to call it, fixing if you're an American, back in. And I am really struggling. Fat fingers. Yeah, they're used to controlling shovels and sledgehammers and stuff. Got a CR10 for 108 quid. Wow. Where on earth did you get that from? Was that a misprice or something that you managed to pick up on? Or was it somebody selling one second hand that couldn't get it to work? Or are you just spawning? People that aren't from England won't understand what spawning means, I'm sure. Right, we're going there, kids. We're definitely getting there. Let's get this fan clicked back in. You know, if this all goes really badly wrong and we get loads of smoke and stuff, at least you can have something to laugh at, aren't you? Especially after I've said, you know, warning, danger, you know, this thing could burn you. And then for me to actually, set light to it would be not amusing. Not on my part, anyway. You might find it amusing. I don't think I would. It failed the quality check in China. Well, I think most things do, don't they? So if it failed the quality check in China, how come you've got it in the UK? You see, I'm missing out on all these bargains, aren't I? Somebody somewhere is getting all these failed returned machines for next to nothing, and nobody wants to tell me where to get it from, and that's just not fair. Because I'd like a cheap machine. I'm sick of paying. Well, I'm not paying through the nose for this, am I? 114 delivered. This was. I paid a little bit on top because I paid by PayPal. And that was only for convenience, no other reason. Fat fingers, lads, fat fingers. Now the next question is where are those two screws at the front of this box? There's me saying, oh, I've put all the screws back in so I know where they are for when I put it back together. And I can't remember what I've done with those two screws. I put them somewhere safe, I know I did. Just for the life of me, I can't remember where. Did I screw them in somewhere else so they were handy? No. Right, well, there's one. So much for keeping them safe. Might have to look in the spares department in a minute and see if I've got a spare one just to go in there for now. Fiddly this, but better to be fiddly and right than to have a mess. Right, so I'm a man down on a screw now, which is a bit embarrassing. But hey ho, never one to be beaten. Never one to be beaten. Just bear with me 2 ticks, and I will go to my spares department because I'm sure the one will turn up that I can't find. In the meantime, somewhere up here, in one of my many boxes of drawers, I have a load of spares. I'm sure I'll have one to fit. Rattly, rattly. That one's too big. Right. Not to worry, it'll turn up somewhere in the build, it'll turn up. It's probably underneath something. I'm just not quite sure what. It's probably stuck to me. This is what happens when you don't have beer. So, right, next thing to do. I need to get the bed back on. Is it right? Is it under right extrusion? So this, is that your right or is that your right? As you're looking at it, I'm not sure. I'll lift it up. Nothing there, nothing there. Nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. No. No, that could be, you could be seeing the screw that holds the top of my table. It's a distinct possibility. Let's not worry about it. It's not the end of the world. What we will do is check that to make sure it's not inside, and it isn't. So that's a bonus. Now I've got to get this back on now. So this, kids, you won't have to do unless you need to change your belt. I like this idea, by the way, these metal tabs. I think it makes life somewhat interesting. So before we put this back on, is there anything else anybody wants to look at on the underside of here before we go any further? Those wheels are all, bearings are all good. Checked those. No sticky points on those. That before you go ahead. Now I've got a nut under there, so we need to get a spanner out. Now, is there a spanner that came with a kit that's going to fit? Go check and see if the DPD mans are turned up yet. I don't know whether that's fitting onto that nut properly. Might have got the wrong end of the spanner. You know, I can't tell for the life of me whether that's very difficult. Right, that's on now. Allen key. Wrong Allen key. There we go. I think I hear a DPD van, guys. I might have to go AFK for a minute. There he goes. That's the man. Right, if you just bear with me, I shall just go and get my new tables. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back shortly. Alan. That's the one. Fantastic. All right, cheers. See you later now. And I'm back in the room. So that's my build tables arrived that I was going to use, but didn't. But hey ho, they're here now. We might build one of those later if we have time. Right, so did I go anywhere? Should check over everything. I did a comment. Is CR thing complaining about the bolts weren't tightened? Live build table. I might do that, yeah. You never know. Right, so that's tight now. Yeah, those are all good now. Do want to check that they're straight. Those two are just straightforward on, and these are the ones that are concentric, eccentric, whatever you wish to call them. That's those two. So this clips into there like that. Isn't that a clever idea? What isn't going to be a clever idea is if I pull the other end of it out of the machine. Oh, it's come off the pulley now, look. So I've now got to run this all the way back. Get those wheels on. Now, get a magnet. What do you mean next build? What am I building next? Goodness sake, man. Give me a day off. Now I can see why they put this on first, because you have to contort yourself a little to get that end on, but that's on now. So we have the bed back on. So that's good. That's really good. I'm really pleased. So now the pulleys that I took off, those have got T-nuts on. So that's good, because that means I was just able to slide those out. So it's two on the bottom, one on the top, and I did note how much tension they had on it before I took it apart. And I tell you what, it wasn't a massive amount. I shall tension it back to where they had it, and then we will see what it's like, because they had it tensioned so the top nut was just showing, the top T-nut, whatever you wish to call them, was just showing. That's the wrong Allen key again. Do you know what? I'm going to spend all day doing wrong Allen keys, aren't I? Was just showing almost flush with the end of the extrusion. So that is where I'm going to set it. And then if it's not right, we can alter that later. So we are now back. I know I shouldn't do that, but I'm going to do it anyway. We're now back to where we should have started. So welcome to the build of an Ender 3. So we've just wasted, I don't know how many hours. Twang it. I can't twang it because you can't. It sits in the rail here, and it goes. I don't know how to show you this. It actually goes down the middle of the double extrusion. I don't know whether you can actually see that, but it's in there. It's actually in the extrusion, so I can't twang it because I can't really get hold of it. But well, I can do that. There isn't a massive amount of tension on it. I would say that there isn't a massive amount. It's not twanging like you would imagine. Let me check this bed. See this? I don't think I should have that wobble. What does anybody else think? Do you think I ought to tighten those nuts up slightly? Gusner seems to think so. See, that's quite a bit actually on there. But that is the design of the those 4 wheels underneath means it's a little bit unbalanced. Because there's 4, you can actually end up skewing things. Now do you know what's happened now, guys? Does anybody want to hazard a guess? Does anybody want to hazard a guess that the battery's gone flat on the camera? Because I think that's what's gone on. So you now haven't got a picture. And hopefully you can still hear me. And you're still there. But at the moment, it's just me, and me. So let us see if we can't do something about that. We're going to do a little magic trick, hopefully. And we will get ourselves back up in no time at all. Because what I did was I have 2 spare batteries for my camera. So I can just magically swap the battery out and we can carry on regardless. We would have been done if it hadn't have been for all the cock-ups. Should I put the batteries back on charge, guys, just in case we need it? Do you think that's a good idea? You see, this is how professional I am. Really, I mean, you know, how other people cope, I'm not sure. Right, there we are, look, second battery in. So we've got another battery left, and I'll go and put that one back on charge. So we'll keep going. Right, so that battery's back on charge, so should we need it, we've got it. Now, how tight do you think I ought to get this bed? I've tightened it up a bit while you weren't looking, and I think that's pretty decent. Belt sitting pretty much in the middle. Yeah, I'm fairly pleased with that, fairly happy with that. So we'll start with the paperwork, shall we? So parts list, we all know about the parts list, don't we? It's very, very simple. But what you have to do is that we're actually running down this side of the page and then down that side of the page. And then you go down there and then down there. Don't try and work across like that because it doesn't work like that. We've got 50p for the meter. I'm not going to call you YouTube backwards for much longer. You're going to have to tell me what your first name is, you cheeky git. Because otherwise I'm going to start ignoring you completely. So, step 1. It says, step 1. These are the tall extrusions. So, our step 1. How many people have we got looking? Oh, 5 still. I haven't bored everyone to death just yet. Well done, guys. You must have better things to do on a Saturday than this, surely to goodness. Right, so we have the 2 vertical extrusions, which look like that. They've got holes in there, which go right through. And this one has 2 holes there and there. So I'm guessing that's going to be the power supply one. Myself, I reckon that's going to be that side. Somehow, that way probably. Like that, but we'll read the instructions. Right, so I need it is the M5 times 45, 4 pieces with washers. So, bag, M5 times 45. With spring washers, and it would look from my wonderful drawing as if I've got to screw those up from the bottom. It's pointing out that the 2 holes for the power supply need to be on the inside, so when I put it in, I'll be putting it in like that. So they're on the side nearest the bed. So that's something to watch. They are drilled but not threaded, and they aren't in the middle either. So you've got to make sure you get them the right way around. And the two holes appear to be towards the bottom end. So I don't want to explain it to you better, but basically you've got a hole there and a hole there. So that's the bottom. So that hole is nearer the bottom rather than being that way up like that, where the holes are nearer the top, you see. So it's got to be that way. So the shortest distance between the extrusion and the first hole is there, and then that goes on like that. So spring washer, and bolt, and then we're going to carefully lay this up on its side. Can you tell I've got the bolt in my mouth? And we're going to go in from the bottom. You can't see this, can you? Let me just alter the camera a little. There's no point you watching if you can't see anything. There we go. So make sure I get this the right way around. In from the bottom, into the bottom of the extrusion, which is threaded. So that's always good to see. And then we'll have another nut and a washer. And yes, I did just do that by putting the washer in my mouth and then putting the nut in my mouth to put the nut onto the washer, because I couldn't see another way of doing it. I know, I'm disgusting. Oh, we're down to 4 viewers. Oh no, somebody else has gone. It's getting a bit desperate. So we're just going to get those nuts in and those bolts in, and make sure I get that as perpendicular as I can. I'm not going to over tighten it, because that is always a bad thing to do, because if you strip those out, we're all in trouble. Be talking to myself soon. Yeah, I reckon I will be, but I do that a lot anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much. It's nothing new. Spend most of my life talking to myself, if not actually. I feel like I am. So that's that one on. So the other side, does it give me a clue as to where the holes are? The holes are at the bottom. So those 2 holes that are there are at the bottom. So that one will go on like that. I'm guessing that's possibly for the motor mount, possibly those 2 little holes. So what we'll have to do now is we'll have to lay it on the other side. It would be if I wasn't doing it with you guys, because I'm doing it with you guys and I want you to see what I'm doing. I'm having to do it this way, but when you do it at home, yes, by all means, lay it the flat side on the table to actually put them in. That would make a great deal of sense. But because I'm trying to do it so you guys can see a bit more, I'm probably not doing it the best of ways, let's be honest. But we will make it work. There's plenty of opportunity for squaring stuff up. So we'll get that one onto there. Now, I think I might just have come across a bit of an issue. I'm not sure yet, just bear with me, but I feel something isn't quite right. And I will check before I open my mouth and say we need to sort this out, but I've got a feeling we might have a little bit of an alteration to do. This will only probably happen if you've taken the lid off your control box. But I know it's important to get them perpendicular. I get it. And well done for spelling perpendicular, right? Don't worry, we will have it perpendicular. It will all be good. I promise you. But what I have to do now is I just have to carefully slide that back. The top of this control box is hard and fast against the extrusion. Let me turn you around and show you. So down here, let me freehand you a moment. This might, if anybody gets sick easily, right, so down there, that is awfully close to the edge of there, look. So make sure, if you have taken your lid off, that it's not actually touching it and stopping that from being straight, because that will become an issue. Okay, so let's go back up. I'll put you back up there out of the way. Sorry about that if you feel sick. I do apologise, but I just wanted to show you that. So we will, just to keep Gusner happy, I shall lay this on this side to do the final tighten. Like that. Oh, we're back up to 5. Woo! 5 people with nothing to do on a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, no, it's always good, Gusner, to make sure that things are square and perpendicular and you don't hold them one-handed like that, like I just did. We'll set it up for too long anyway. But I found the CR10 was fairly forgiving, to be honest with you. Didn't have too many issues with it, which was nice. So that's step 1 done. So step 2, we are going to mount the power supply. So it says in red, select the correct input voltage to match your local mains, 220 or 110. Well, we know we've already checked, don't we? But we will look again, just to make 100% certain. Point out again, I've got a dent in my control box. Right, so in there, you can see that's set to 220. So that's good. So we're now going to mount that. So it is a simple matter. It hasn't actually, interestingly enough, it hasn't told me to connect the cable. I would have thought this would be the ideal stage to connect the cable, but it's not saying to, so I won't. So that sits there. Now, that doesn't, funnily enough, that doesn't sit flat onto the extrusion because it would trap the cable to start with, but it actually does sit a bit higher up. So it's not flush onto the bottom of the extrusion that you can't see because you can't see the camera. Right there. It doesn't sit flat onto there. It's actually raised a bit above it. You slowly slipping away on me. Right, so nuts we need for this one then. We needed the M5x8 times 2. So the M5x8. Let's just let me make sure, because they show them as black nuts, and of course I've only got silver ones, but I think that's possibly just for the sake of visual representation, I suppose. So thank you for the 5 that are still here. I don't know who you are. I can't see your names. I can only see those that talk to me or hurl abuse at me, probably is nearer the truth. So we will get the Allen key. Hopefully we're not going to have any more deliveries this afternoon. You know, how often do you get these live builds and people go wandering off to answer the phone or anything like that? Does it happen a lot? Or is it just me? Yeah, I know, it's just me. Right, so power supply. M5 by 8. Now this in itself is going to be interesting. Because that I'm not sure I've got the right bolts here, guys. But we will see momentarily. It definitely says M5 by 8. Ah, my bad. I'm actually reading up now. You see, this is where it lets itself down. Let me show you. Step 2. It says 2 pieces, M5 by 8, and then it says 2 pieces. So and it doesn't tell you what size bolts are to put the power supply in. Well, it does, actually. I'm lying to you. It says M4 by 20 there. You can't read that. See if I can get it so you can read it. It says M4 by 20 there, 2 pieces, but there's no picture. So you're not gonna, if you're looking at that, you don't know what the piece is. So looking at this bit here, it clearly looked like that. So I need 2 M4 by 20s to actually mount the power supply. So M4 by 20s. So I want 2 of those. There's actually 3 in the pack, so that might mean there's a spare one of those. We shall wait and see. But yeah, that's just a little bit annoying when they miss things like that out. Because unless you're actually concentrating, you could be in all sorts of trouble. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run those into there first. Like so. Yeah, I agree with you, Gusner. It would be better if it sat directly onto the extrusion. But if they were to do that, the actual plug for the 24 volt out would be trapped underneath the extrusion. Now, they could hack a gap in the extrusion the same way they've done underneath, but that would probably just be another accident waiting to happen, wouldn't it? If they were to grind another hole in the side of the extrusion, because I'm sure they wouldn't do anything about that either. So we'll wind those 2 into there. So that's your power supply on. Nice and firm, fits really well. Carefully slide that back again. I know I shouldn't be doing that. You don't have to tell me, guys, but you do have to move it every now and again. So other thing was, I was going to print a back for that. But again, with work commitments, I have just not had time. So I apologize for that. I was intending on making this all singing, dancing, marvelous and wonderful, but I haven't managed it. Now, I will point out at this point that it shows you to mount it. It doesn't tell you to put the cable in the back. It doesn't tell you to do anything with the cables until you get to the end. Now, to me, that is a bit daft. Because how on earth, it's not going to be easy to get that into there when that's bolted on. So I am actually going to fit it now. So I'll jump to step 12, and step 12 states, just let me show you. So that's the screen going in there. I don't really read that, but it says EXP3. So I'm going to connect that now before I mount the unit, because I'm not fiddling about trying to get me fingers in behind there to do it later. So I am mounting that now like that with those 2 little M5 by 8s that I thought were for the other thing, and that just goes into the front end of the extrusion, into the threaded holes. At least it will do shortly. So we have one in there, like that. You see, it makes such good television, this, doesn't it? You can really see what I'm doing. Trust me, I am doing it. Honestly, I am doing it. So that's the screen on, and that's the power supply on. Now, just get those tweaked up a little. That cable, let me just spin this round for you. That cable is a bit flappy and loose and one thing and another. So I know there are, again, some people already have come up with some printed parts to clip it. And I think they clip it into there, to be honest with you. I actually believe that when I got it, this ribbon cable didn't come out of the side. This ribbon cable actually came out of the back and round. But when I've rerouted it, so it'll sit flush on there, look. So I can cable tie that to that for now to keep it flush. And then I will print out the necessary bits at a later date to make that all hunky-dory. Of course, the issue I have with that is that all my cable ties are really short. I don't have any long cable ties to hand. So we'll leave that for the minute until my brain reminds me where I've left the longer cable ties. Duct tape. No, I'm not using duct tape. God, you've got some sort of, I don't know, fetish with duct tape. I don't know. Right, so we've got that on. We've got the power supply on. Where are we next? So that was step 2. Step 3. So step 3, we are fitting the Z end stop. And it shows me a little picture at the bottom of how to do it and how not to do it, which actually doesn't make a great deal of sense. I see. It's because it's using T-nuts, it's just telling you to make sure that the T-nuts are in the correct orientation. And it's telling you to make sure that it's 32 millimeters above the bottom of the machine. So, of course, this is going to be infinitely alterable. So the parts I need, it doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me which bolts. All it says is that part with those bolts in like that, not like that, and 32 mil off the bottom of the bed. But like I say, it doesn't tell me which bolts it is. So that's not very helpful, is it? I am going to suggest that it's these M5x8s. That is what I'm going to suggest, and I'm going to suggest. Let's have a look at these T-nuts. I've got some M4 T-nuts and I've got some M5 T-nuts. So we'll go for the M5 T-nuts. And we will find our Z end stop. You see, this is where I'm going to get proved wrong now, because I'm going to open the bag and actually find that they're already all on. That'll teach me. Stop laughing. Yes, I can read that. Thanks, Gusner. Yeah, I could do that with the cable ties, but I'd rather find one that's long enough and just do it in one. So, Z end stop, as Gusner says, it already comes fitted with the T-nuts and the bolts. You don't need to go looking for them. If you'd actually picked the piece out before ranting, I would have known that it was already there. So, this needs to go on like that. T-nuts in, lowering them down. I'm not measuring the height at the moment. I am just going to get it somewhere like, and we'll measure the height later. Just don't let me forget, guys. I'll loosely tighten those up, and I will also put the ZN stop plug in while I remember. So that's that in. That switch is on. Like I say, it's not tight. I will tighten it because I'm sure you'll. I've spent my life having people telling me what to do, Mr. Backwards YouTube, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's nothing new in my world. So step 4. Step 4 is the Z motor. And it is the rod. So there's the Z motor, already got its bolts in it. So that just lines up with the 2 holes in the extrusion, and they appear to be threaded, if not very well. This is where I find that I've put that on the wrong way around, isn't it? Because they'll be threaded on the other side and not the side that I'm looking at. Just let me check. Like I say, this is why I'm here, so I can make the mistakes, and I actually have done that wrong. So everybody cheer, laugh and clap. It's another thing that you will need to check when you are putting your machine together, is make sure that you actually get this on the right way around. I haven't, it's on the wrong way around, which means the threads are actually at the front rather than at the back where they should be. So that is entirely my mistake. I take full responsibility for that. And if you would like to shoot me now, by all means do so. So now I have to find my Allen key again for these big bolts. Now the issue I'm going to have now is, which I'm sure all of you can see, is that because I've got the screen on and I've got all this on, I can't tilt it up on its side to do it. So, oh, I'm glad to know it wasn't just me that did it. So what? Well, why didn't you warn me? Thanks a lot. So what I'm going to do is I've actually pulled it off the side of the desk, and by feel, I will find those 2 bolts and loosen them off, and we'll turn this extrusion the right way around. No, there are holes going all the way through the extrusion, but they're only threaded on one side. So always worth a check. I shall show you in a minute when I get it off. I will show you what I mean. So yeah, although the holes go all the way through the extrusion, it's only tapped, stroke threaded, whatever you want to call it, on one side. So if you've done this and you haven't cocked up, I think it's probably more by luck than by judgment. So if I can get that into focus, which I don't know whether I can, don't know whether you can see, but that side is tapped and that side is just drilled. There's no tap in there at all. So that was a big mistake by me, but like I have said, I make mistakes, so you don't have to. Now the tap's actually, the tap is actually the hole. It's the threaded hole. I don't know what you call it where you come from, my dear friend, but in the UK it's a tapped thread. You have a set of stuff called taps and dies, and you use taps for tapping threads into holes, and dies you use for cutting threads onto bars. So if you want to make a bolt, you have a bar and you put a die on it, and that cuts your thread. How stupid is that mentioned in the manual? Now it's asking me if I want to hold that one for review, and I say show it. There we go. How stupid is that mentioned in the manual? There's not a lot mentioned in the manual, mate, to be honest with you. No, it doesn't actually specify that you have to have that the right way around. So there you go. There's another thing. I mean, still can't knock them. You've got to remember it's a second language to them is English. I mean, they're not actually using it because they're only drawing pictures, but you know what I mean. It's you get an awful lot lost in translation, and it's also when you are doing these sort of manuals and stuff, you have to test them on people, don't you? You have to sort of have guinea pigs that try and build the machine for you that's never built a machine before. But the thing is that whether they've built the machine before or not, if they get it the right way around when they do it, by luck rather than judgment, you're never going to know that people could get it wrong. Because if you get 3 people to do it for you and 3 people do it right, you know, like I say, they're not going to realise that people could get it wrong. It's only when you get a muppet like me who gets it wrong that they realise that, well, we might need to put that in the manual. But it's a very, very sparse manual anyway. There's very little in it. There's not a lot of help. That I'm having trouble getting out to thread. I've got this side one in. I'm tempted, and I mean tempted, to go and get my own set of Allen keys to tighten that up. But you know what I said at the beginning of this? I've got to use the kit that came with it. So that is what I will do. So let me see if I can. I'm not convinced I'm using the right size Allen key. I'll be frank. That one would work a lot better. It was tightening it up, but it was also spinning around because it wasn't quite the right size. But this bolt on this side, I'm having trouble getting that to get a grip. I don't know if she's gone or not now. We'll see. But it's very fiddly because that stepper motor is kind of blocking my view of where the bolts are. You'll see this for yourself when you do it. Right, so we've got the stepper motor on. Maybe one tap from the front, one tap from the back. I wouldn't put it past anybody. Now that's interesting. I'm going to show you this. I don't know if this is going to be an issue. I'm hoping it's not going to be an issue. But that stepper motor is not sitting totally flat. I don't know whether you can see that. Let me just lift it up. I'm trying to lift it up without skewing the frame or anything. But do you see that stepper motor there? Is not sat completely flat. You see that? The side nearest the extrusion is lower than the side away from the extrusion. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to loosen those bolts slightly and I'm going to see if I can straighten that up. I seem to remember this was also an issue with the CR10s. I seem to remember this was a thing, or with some of the CR10s. And I also seem to remember that if you loosened those nuts off and lifted the stepper motor ever so slightly, it would sit better. But I don't know. That isn't sitting right to me. We shall see. What I'm doing is, because you can't see what I'm doing, I'm actually holding the stepper motor down with my fingers while tightening these bolts and seeing if that's going to make any difference. No, that is still at an angle. That is still running up. I mean, you'll see when I get the actual rod on, but that is still running up at an angle like that. That is not flat and square and level. And because it's not on T-nuts, I can't alter it. I might actually dig out a couple of T-nuts. We'll see how we get on. But I think I might need to dig out a couple of T-nuts and actually change that. So what we actually end up with, so I'm just trying to work out what have I trapped under the bit. Oh, I see, it's that. Right, okay. If I was to replace those bolts that go into an extrusion with two T-nuts that I run inside there, I can then move that up and down and I can get that placed better. Yeah, I think my CR10 had T-nuts as well. Mr. Backwards YouTube. I don't know whether I've got any T-nuts to hand because the only T-nuts I will have will be leftovers from previous builds. And I don't know whether they're going to be the right size or anything else, but I do see that as being a bit of a flaw, personally. I don't know what anybody else thinks. I don't know whether it's going to cause an issue. I mean, it might not, but I don't feel particularly confident with those like that. I have actually got a couple of T-nuts here. I'll have a look in my minuscule spares department. See if these T-nuts are the right ones for the extrusion. That's the first job. No, that's a bit of a beggar. Actually, no, I can make them fit. Right, right, so do I go against the grain now and do I put these T-nuts on now and run the risk that it messes up? Or do I go with the build as they have designed it and see if it's actually an issue or whether I am just being, what's the word I'm looking for without getting into trouble? Let's say too pedantic, because, you know, so we're going for T-nuts, are we, guys? Well, if we're going for T-nuts, I've got to make sure I've got some bolts that are shorter. So that will be the decision-making moment, is when I take this. Let's turn this around so you can actually see what I'm doing again. Let's bring you down. I don't like bringing you down, but sometimes it's necessary. Right, so we're going to take those out of there. I'm actually going to bring you right down. You're going to lose your overhead view. You're going to go to a bit more of a side view. You see, I had a camera set up to do this. If my other program had worked. Right, so let's see if I can zoom you in as well for a minute. How's the quality? Is that still all right? It's not gone all funny or anything, has it? Right, good out. So we're going to get in here with the right Allen key. We're going to have those two out. I mean, it's not just me. That is definitely not sitting square. I'm not imagining things, am I? It was definitely at an angle, wasn't it? If you're watching, can you just hit the like button, please? I don't think it means anything. I don't think it makes any difference. But it would be nice to know that everybody that's watching is liking. If you're not liking, don't hit it. If you're not liking, why are you still here? Right, so I am going to have to, I'll just zoom you back out a second. I'm going to have to take this bracket off as well because I can't get those bolts out as it is. So we're going to wind this. Oh, they were tight. Wind this bracket off. Well, I don't know whether the holes are too low. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I just know that I wasn't awfully happy. And I'm not a grumpy sod. But, you know, things like that, I don't know whether that's going to affect print quality or not. I'm no expert. But I just didn't like it. And if I don't, which I say isn't absolutely brilliant, are they going to be too deep? They're going to be too deep. This could become more of an issue than I first thought, because I think the bolts are too deep. Not quite sure what we're going to do here, guys, because they are just ever so slightly. I tell you what, I think it's washer time. I think. Do you reckon? A couple of washers on just to get those bolts so they're not flat too. You know, it's times like these you learn to live again. Have I got any washers? Right, found a couple of washers. Back in the room. Yeah, well, that was my concern, that it could have bent that threaded screw. It could have done all sorts of damage, couldn't it? And we don't want damage. We just want great looking hair. Oh no, hang on, that's something else, isn't it? So we are going with a couple of washers. So I've got some slightly longer bolts with a couple of washers on, just so they don't go too deep into the I was going to call it box section then, but it is an extrusion, isn't it? An aluminium extrusion. I'm just going to put those T-nuts on loosely, very loosely. Oh, now I find these bolts are the wrong thickness. That's going to be my next issue, isn't it? Incorrect diameter of bolt. That can't be right. But I thought I had them in once. You just hang in there, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. Right. I'm going to use those. We will make this work. We will make this work. Wrong Allen key again. Right, we're off and running now. The only thing I have to hope right, we've got another issue. This isn't going very well, unfortunately. But let's turn that around so you can see. If I put the washers on those heads, when I line that up to there, I am awfully close to that. I don't think, I'm not actually touching, we'll get away with it, but we are awfully close. Awfully close, but we're not touching. We will live to fight another day. So, T-nuts in. Get them in square. Yeah, well, I didn't know. I mean, I might be able to lift the coupler slightly. But I have a feeling, if I remember rightly, I have a feeling that you had to make sure it was seated all the way to the bottom. But then actually looking inside that coupler, can you actually see that? That central shaft is sticking out. So that's actually above halfway. So I'm actually going to have to lift that anyway. So that might solve that issue. Because to me, that looks as if it's far too far through. So what we'll do is, I mean, is that me? But that shouldn't be sticking up like that, should it? Because you should have room to set the threaded rod right the way in. Well, not right the way in, but at least halfway in, and that's stopping it from doing that at the moment. Talk amongst yourselves. But answer me that question about the coupler. Should that coupler at the bottom, where it comes out of the motor, that should be flush, shouldn't it? It shouldn't be stuck up like that. Yeah, no, I agree with you, because there's got to be that, so there's some flex, and if they're touching, there's no flex, is there? If they're bang hard up against each other. So doing that will lift the coupler clear of those two bolts, hopefully. So that will then negate the issue that I'm having with that. So what we're going to do now is get those tightened back up. I am now going to, without looking particularly, I am going to tighten those T-nuts up. And then once I've tightened those T-nuts up, we're going to look at this side again and see if it sits flush now. Which I blooming hope it does after all this. I'll be annoyed if it doesn't. So what do you think is the chances? Anyone want to take bets? Is it going to look flush? Am I going to look for myself first before I show you? No, I'm not. I'm going to go for it. And that looks a million times better. That is now sitting flush. Well, there's your answer. Thanks for telling me to do it, guys, because I was considering not. I was considering leaving it and just going for it, but that has proved the point. I don't think I've got a... where are they going? Oh, I've got one for that. That has proved the point that that is a design error. So, Mr. YouTube, backwards, we should put your first name, mate, so I don't have to keep calling you YouTube backwards. When you get yours, when yours turns up, if it turns up today, I hope you've got some spare T-nuts. I mean, there might be some spare T-nuts in the kit. I'm not I'm not suggesting that there won't be, because I haven't finished yet, and we might find that, you know, there are some spares. But I would suggest to you that you make sure you've got some, because that... Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I get this shaft only halfway on that coupler, like that. Yep. Make sure I get... Again, talk amongst yourselves. I'm just trying to work out how on earth they expect this round coupler. See, again, is this just me? This shaft has got a flat side to it. So you would imagine that your grub screw would screw into the flat side, wouldn't you? To pin it. But they don't. That coupler is just a cylinder. I can't see a flat edge in there at all. So the only thing that's going to nip that up is tightening that bolt. So again, it seems a little bit, well, cheap. But then I suppose that's what it is. It's a cheap machine. I don't want to put too much pressure on that. Right, that's gripped now. So I've made sure that it's not come beyond halfway, because otherwise when I go to grip that rod, it's going to interfere. So that's now done. The bores are about the same, but that's gripped. That's got it. That's not going anywhere. I mean, it's not really what I would call a flexing coupler, to be honest with you. It's not like the CR10 ones, anyway. So anyway, we've got that on. We've now got it square. So the next thing on step 4 is to put the T8 rod in at this stage. I'll tell you what else I'm going to do at this stage, before we get this all wrong. Where is my cable for my Z or Z? There it is. So let's have that in while we're on. I'm also going to put that end limit switch back in loosely, because I took it out, if you remember. That's just sat around here. So we'll have that bob back in while we think on. Are we having fun yet, guys? Is this helping? I mean, am I wasting my time doing this kind of thing? Because I never really know, like I keep saying, I never really know what content people want. And I wasn't intending on doing a live build of this, because so many people have done them already. But I don't think I've seen anybody have that issue and solve it. So, maybe it's quite useful. Right, so we have the rod. So we shall insert the rod, which is all greasy and horrible. That just goes in like that. And we'll tighten that up like that. So that's now done. Well, I hope it does help others to build it. I mean, I've always said, and I know some people are sick of hearing me say it, but if I make a mistake, it means hopefully other people won't. You know, if I can save somebody half an hour of hassle, or even longer, I suppose with this rod, it could be the difference between a print working and a print failing. I just want to check. If you look at that rod without getting a tape measure, I would say that is sorry, I'm moving you all over the place, aren't I? I would say that is fairly perpendicular all the way up there. Yeah, I would say it was straight. It's a lot better than it would have been. Let's put it that way. So that's what we've done. We've got bolts, washers, and then the T-nuts, which are down in there. And then that means that that is now sat flat and level at the bottom. No raising up. And then I've lifted that to halfway. I don't know whether you can actually see the gap in there or not. It's got to go out of focus, isn't it? But I've pretty much made sure you've got the gap in the middle of those two. So I would say that was good. I would say that was an issue waiting to happen that we've solved. Well, Tobias, I hope it goes well for you. Let me know how you get on. Let me know if your Z motor is sitting level on your extrusion, because mine wasn't. When I screwed it in, it was at an angle. So we've done a quick modification there just to make ours work. But Tobias, if yours is working fine, good on you, kid. Right, so the next thing according to this we have to do, we are mounting the extruder setup onto one of the top rails. So, shall we zoom back out for this, or shall we stay as we are? Let's have a look. So the picture in the description is showing that. So that's what we've got to try and do. So I've got to try and marry up the holes. So I've got that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Let me just check that the other one is different. Yeah, that's well different. So that's definitely the right one. And then we've got this little beauty. We'll just do a quick test of the bearings. Yeah, bearings seem all right. They seem fairly tight. There's no wobble in anything on there. All the nuts seem nicely tightened up. So I need two M4x16s with spring washers. So M4x16 with spring washers. We've got to have, we get this the right way around. So they've got it like that. Ah, now I see. Right, so that sits into there, that sits into there. So M4x16s. M4x14s, M4x16s. So that's these little black ones here. Oh, Tobias, fancy doing that? I'm not going to do that. I might not get it done today, guys. It depends how much longer we go on for and how bored you get. I see we're up to 8 people watching now. We have been live for 1 hour and 45 minutes so far. include, not that doesn't include all the downtime because my original setup refused to work properly, and I still don't understand why that happened. But no, what I was going to say to you is that I was going to actually slice something on S3D using Chris Elkin's CR10 profile. I will change the bedside size so it's the correct bed size, slice something using his profile, and then print it. But because of everything else that's gone on, I've not had a chance to get any of that set up yet. Now, if you're willing to bear with me while I set all that up, I will endeavour to actually do that today for you, and we'll do a steamboat benching, I think. Yeah, no, I'd read about that, Tobias. It's some kind of oil that they've got in the hot end, and that's what's causing that nasty smell. Right, so get this extrusion in. So what I've done is I've put the bolts and the washers already in, so they're sticking out the bottom like that. And then with the extrusion, they've milled out there because there's that nut there. So make sure that you check that this is tight before you put this on, because otherwise you can have the issue that you're never going to get to it. Now, the only issue we have here is that when you go to offer this up, that stop switch there, at that point, is fouling it. So you're just going to have to bear with me while I coax that into place. There might be a couple of swear words coming up, because I'm actually going to have to slide it. Ah, now you see. What you've got to do is, let me get the angle right, it's actually going to sit into the hole behind that stop switch. So having put those bolts in already is now going to cause me issues, but I'm not giving up. Right, so far so good. Got my finger on it. How much you betting I picked the wrong Allen key up to start with? There's a hole at the other plate, so put screws in after I had the extrusion placed. Well, that probably worked better than what I'm doing, in fairness. But I've got her in. I've got one taking. 10 watching. Wow. Well, they've missed all the fun, haven't they? They've missed the DPD man turn up with my new work tables, which I was supposed to be doing this build on. What else have they missed, Gusner? They've missed nothing working at the beginning. Terrible audio. They've missed the battery going flat on my camera, which is going to happen again before too long. But we have another battery ready, and we have another battery on charge. So we'll keep that going. There was the issues with the Z motor not sitting flush. There was the major issue at the beginning. The powering, well, that was my fault, wasn't it? The powering cables. Lost bolts quest. Well, it's still lost, is that one? We will find it. I promise you. Tobias, I don't know whether you have been watching this from the beginning or whether you are aware, but can I just, I'm sorry everybody that's been watching from the beginning and knows about this, but Tobias, do you know about the sharp edges on the extrusion at the bottom? Can you can't see because my camera's all to cock now. I can't show you. Where the cables come out of the control box, they've cut a section of the extrusion out to bring them out, those edges of that extrusions are incredibly sharp, and people have been reporting that they've got cuts in their cables from those extrusions, from that cut on the extrusions. Let me just see. There's no easy way of showing you now, but I want to show you because I don't want you to have a problem. So, Tobias, just let me show you what I mean. Oh, I've just hit. Right, where the cables come out underneath here, I've put some gaffer tape over it for now, but all those edges are razor sharp, and there's one under here that you can't see, which is also razor sharp, and it's been cutting into people's cables here. Now that could cause a short, it could cause something not to work. I don't think it would cause a fire because I think it's only 24 volt that comes out, but it could fry something. So if you aren't aware of that, please, 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 once you've got your 5-hour print finished, have a look at it, because although it might not cut through them at the moment, the more you use it, the more the chances are that something's going to happen. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So just let me get rid of that I can't see what you've written. Just bear with me. Okay, thanks. We'll take a look later. Need to do cable management a little better anyway, for which I need to open up the box. Yeah, I hope it will. I mean, I'm sure it will, Tobias, but it really is, it's a fairly big issue. If when I finish this stream eventually, I found that screw. Sorry, if I found the screw. If when I finish this this build eventually, and it's up online, you want to go back and have a look. It's a big no-no. It really is. I don't know quite what Creality were thinking. It looks like they've hacked the section out with an angle grinder, and they just have not done anything about those sharp edges. And I can see some people having failed machines because of it. I do hope it doesn't happen to anybody. I do hope people heed what I have said. Those that, those few that are watching. But it's going to become an issue. I think you're going to find it a lot more. There's going to be a lot more people online talking about it. In Facebook groups, and I think you're going to find more YouTube videos about it, because I can see it, like I say, becoming a bit of an issue. Right, so meanwhile, back at the ranch. Yeah, Bolt Quest is done. Does that mean I get a special sticker or something for that? So the next step, step 6. There we go. That's what we're doing here. So we've got to fit that bit on. See, I'm getting all technical now. So we've got the hot end. Hot end. Do you know, I am wondering, as a bit of a mod, I don't know whether I'll do it. I haven't decided yet, but whether we should put another fan on this side, so you have air blowing in from both sides like that, rather than prating about with all these fans and stuff. It might become an issue if I put the ABL system on, which I do intend on doing. I've spoken about that before, haven't I? When we get the source code for the firmware for this, so they can then put the power resume function into the unified firmware in Merlin, then I will fit the kit. But until then, I won't do it, because I like the idea of the power resume. But having another fan on the other side there, so you've got cold air going in that way and cold air going in that way, I thought it might be quite cool. I don't know. So, meanwhile, back at the ranch, I need that. I need this. So again, let's check all these bolts. Sorry, I've got you a bit. Can I zoom you out? Oh, only a little. I'm just checking these bolts are all good, that these posts are all perpendicular and not bent. I did see a report. One person had a bent post. Check that these nuts are all good, which they are. There's no play on any of those. No, everything's fine there. No catchy points on the bearings. My reward is you shutting up for 5 minutes. Oh, well, I wouldn't know if there was anybody here if you shut up for 5 minutes. Right, so, yeah, what did it say? I need an M4 by 16, 2 bolts into the bracket. Okay, so, first things first, I need to have that like that. And I need to put the extruder system on. Top carriage, whatever you wish to call it. Like so. We'll just do a quick run up and down. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Quick run up and down of that. That's smooth. Not too tight, but staying where I put it. So that's possibly quite a good tension on that. I'm fairly happy with that. There's no wobble. I see some people fit these and they have videos on Facebook and they go, is this right? And this part is twisting. It's wobbling all over the place. It's not sitting into the grooves properly. And yeah, it does make me wonder how people expect the machines to be accurate if they think that that might be acceptable. So then we've got this little bit here. And I'm going to take you... I can't take you back. That's my only problem. I can only take you up. I might be able to take you back. Let's just see if I can take you backwards. I'm fighting rather a lot of cables on the floor from my previous attempt at getting us set up. That sunlight's making a difference, isn't it? I almost can't see what we're doing. It might even be close a bit of a curtain in a minute. Right, so we need to bolt this bit onto that bit, like that, with a couple of nuts and spring washers. Did you have to tighten those bolts on your bed? My bed was pretty shaky out of the box. Yeah, I had one loose bolt on my bed. It wasn't one of the concentric stroke eccentric nuts. Depends what you want to call them. It wasn't one of those two. It was actually just one of the normal post ones that that wasn't right. But yeah, no, I did need to tighten one. Sorry, I'm trying to work out what I'm doing here. M4x16. I've got those already out somewhere, haven't I? The M4x16s. But yes, no, I did have to tighten one. It was rattling about quite badly. But now I've got it. It's fairly good now. It's running smoothly, doing what it should do. So M4x16 times 2 with the washers. So, Tobias, did you have whole loads of bits left over? I'm talking nuts and bolts wise. Was there lots of spares in the bags? I'm only asking this because if people have the issue with the Z-stepper motor, I'm kind of hoping there's going to be a couple of spares that will help them out, because I don't want anybody to be in a situation that they can't use their machine because of something as simple as that. And I think they were left over. The ones I used, I think, were left over from my CR10 build, in fairness. So if I had some spares in the CR10 build, you would imagine there will be some spares left over in this. I'm sorry you can't see what I'm doing, but it is getting to the stage now where space is getting a bit tight. But you're not missing anything particularly exciting. There's nothing that is going to be an issue. Nothing that I think you need to see, but I'm now in the area of everything's cabled together. So it's getting more difficult to show you what I'm doing, but basically I'm just whacking those into there is what I'm doing. So you're not missing anything, ultimate. I might just drop that bolt in. I just hope I've got that the right way up now. I'm sure I have. All right, good. Well, yeah, I stuck it on. Sorry, Tobias. Yeah, I stuck it on a few places this morning. I wasn't going to do it. I did an unboxing and a look around the other day, but Gustner, bless him, asked me to do a build video, a live build, rather than just a build video. I wasn't going to, but the wife and the daughter, they've gone to watch the new Avengers, whatever it is, malarkey film. It's a nice day. It's always better to do this sort of thing in daylight because my other build was done in, well, my overall impressions was done in the dark. And it was interesting to say the least, wasn't it, guys? It was a bit strange. So we are now going to step 7, which is putting the belt on. I shall show you what it says. There we are, belt fitment. Not rocket science. Seems fairly straightforward. So we'll get that cracked on. Don't see much of a way of tensioning the belts at the moment. We'll have to see if there's some special way of tightening these up. I mean, there might not be. There might not be a need. Oh yes, of course there is. There's the piece I haven't put on yet, isn't there? Which is interesting. They haven't shown me. Right. So let me see if I can turn things around a bit more so you can actually see what I'm doing. I'm sorry about this, guys. It's just restricted space. Doing my best under the circumstances. And if it's not good enough, tough. So I have got to feed in through that end, right the way around. And it's got to hook onto the bottom of this carriage. There's a slot there and a slot there. So what I'll actually do is now make sure that your end fastening is sticking down at the bottom like that. Don't let it go up into the extruder, the extruded aluminium, because it'll rub and it'll cause all sorts of nastiness. And we don't want nastiness. We just want happy printing. God, you know. I need a 12-year-old to come and do this for me. Or somebody with smaller fingers anyway. I better not start stipulating ages. I'll get into trouble. So we go up there. And then I'm feeding it. So basically all I'm doing is I'm feeding it through. Through there. And then try and get it to come. I might just flip it over to get it out like that. And then turn it back over. So we're through there. Then we've got to go. Let me just see if I can do this so you can see. So then I've got to go underneath this carriage. And now that, look, it does want me to go under there. It does. That's a bit interesting. That brass terminal is going to be a little bit difficult to get over that underneath that wheel. Tobias, did you have trouble with that? The fact that that brass terminal is actually jamming up against the wheel. That's tight. Do you know? Yes, a little force worked. Am I going to trust you on this, or am I going to bottle it? Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to bottle it, and I am going to loosen the nut, concentric nut on the bottom. So it gives me a bit of play to slide it underneath, because I don't want to deform anything by forcing it. Not quite sure which way I'm supposed to be turning this now. Right, that's giving me a bit of slack. There we go. Right, you can either do what Tobias did, which was give it a bit of brute force, or you can do what I did, the soppy way of doing it, and loosen that nut off. Concentric nut on the bottom of here. I've just loosened that off, so it slid in nicely. I've now got to try and fish that rubber around there like that. Oh, I've got a load of wobble in me hot end carriage. Is that supposed to be like that? Is it supposed to be wobbly? No, it's not supposed to be wobbly. It's supposed to be nice and tight. A bit more like that. There we go. So that's that all done now. That's sitting better. That's all doing lovely. Oh. Well, I don't know what was the right way to do it, but I just, sometimes I just have to take a bit of extra care. Right, so we're on to step 8 now. We're going there, kids. We're going there. We've just got to get to the tensioning bit on the end, which is in a bag, and it's got its concentric, eccentric, what have we nuts available. How's the print coming on, Tobias? Is it coming on all right? Does it look good? I know it's a 5-hour print or something ridiculous. I think it's a bit cheeky because I think they've sliced it at 0.01 layer height. So it comes out looking absolutely exceptional. But then, it will do if you've done it at that kind of layer height. It would be nice if, they were maybe a little bit more honest. Right, so we are going to whack that in. It goes on the back side. So make sure you get your T-nuts to sit right as it warns you. Then see, that belt is fairly tight already. My goodness. I'll tell you what, kids. It's not going to take a lot of... Just got to angle that a bit. Hang on. Sorry, stand back. Here we go. Another mistake. Not deliberate. When I had taken the belt out the bottom. Can you see that? It's going over the top of that piece of the casing rather than inside it. So that was why I was getting all sorts of tension problems just now. So make sure that you feed it the right way. So we'll get that through there, and then we'll flip the belt back over because I've got a twist in it at the moment. So we'll take that twist out ever so carefully, like that. There we go, twist it out. Now we've got a load of slack. There we go. If something doesn't feel right, I was told you should never get rid of your printers. Certainly not ever your first printer. I can't really think of who it was who told me that. I think it was 3D Maker Noob. I think it was Joe that said to me, you should never get rid of your first printer. I was explaining the other night that I don't actually have room for this printer. My Prusa i3 Mark III is on the floor at the moment because where I am building this at this present second is where the Prusa should be going. But my new table's turned up halfway through this build, which means I'm going to have plenty of room. So that is on. I've just put a bit of pressure on it, not a massive amount. All I did was I nipped with my fingers there to put a bit of tension on it as I tightened it up. So that is now. Oh, these cables do get a bit twisty-wisty, don't they? So that's now all that done. Step 9. Step 9. Step 9. Let's have a look at what step 9 is. Step 9 is that. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. So for step 9, shall I get this all the right way around? So we're just going to lower it over the extrusions and then carefully wind it on. You can't see what I'm doing, can you? Sorry. Why didn't somebody shout? So all I've done is I've lowered it onto the carriage ever so carefully, and I'm just turning the lead screw at the back so it goes through the brass fitting. That is too tight on that side because that is holding up, so we need to loosen off the concentric nut on here. I never know which way to turn these. Right, that looks better. There we go, we're now going on. There we go. That's all good. Yeah, fairly pleased with that. Seems to be going on there fairly well. So that was step 9. So now we're on to step 10. Step 10 is sticking the top on, otherwise known as so again, these have got countersinks on them, so that'll countersink your bolts in. So they go on like that. We're nearly there, kids. And for these, we need the M5 by 25 times 4. Now, these have already got the spring washers on the bolts. They're already on there, so we can just drop those straight in. And we're waiting for the puff of smoke then. Is that what everybody's hanging about for? Well, we're down to 9 again. I see somebody's fallen asleep. Or they've died of old age while watching. Now, I've also seen other people say that these bolts were awfully tight to go in and that it made them worry that the top and the bottom weren't square. Mine are flushed up pretty well, actually. JT, hey mate, how you doing? You're a bit late, guy. You're missing all the fun. We've had some right excitement with this build. If you get a chance, mate, just flick back and have a look. We've had some issues. We've had some missing screw. We've had all sorts of stuff, basically, mate, including a little alteration I've had to make things work. But it's nice to have you on board, kid. Hope everything's good with you. It's a glorious sunny day here. But, you know, needs must. When you assemble a second one, without commenting, etc., how long would you say it would take to assemble an Ender 3? Oh, Tobias. How long have I been going now? 2 hours, 17 minutes. So, I would say, if I didn't have to do the alterations that I've done, and the umming and ahhing, and the stuff with the control box that I've done, I reckon if you check everything and do it properly, I reckon I probably could have done it in an hour. I don't know what anybody else thinks. But I reckon, you know, making sure that you check your bolts and your nuts and everything is set up right, I reckon I could have probably nailed it in an hour and been happy. I wouldn't have wanted to do it any quicker than that because that's quite nice. I just don't know whether you can see that. These little end caps they've given you to put on. No, you can't see that. They've actually got Creality 3D written on them. You get any? Oh, there we go. You can just about make that out. That's quite nice. It's a pity they didn't clean up those edges, but still. But yes, yeah, I reckon live streams cost 50% of the time. So if you're half what we're at the moment, then so at 218, that would take me down to 110. And then if you lose well, I mean, I've actually spent probably half an hour more than I should have done doing that other stuff, haven't I? So, but I wouldn't do it in half an hour. I wouldn't be happy doing it with half an hour. I think an hour means you're not rushing, and it means that you're checking stuff. Step 11, spool holder. It means you're checking stuff and making sure stuff is right. Because I think if you do it any quicker than that, quite frankly, you know, you're opening yourself up to all sorts of issues. M5 times 2 and 5 M5 T-nuts. Let's just hope this isn't the stage where I find out that those T-nuts I use are the ones I needed. M5 by 8. So this is the truth or consequences time. Have I used up the T-nuts that I needed? I've got some M4 T-nuts floating about that I don't need. I've got an M5 T-nut there. The spool holder may have to go on with one T-nut. I really did arrive at the right time. Do you think? What, just as I finish? Thanks very much. Right, I could be down to 1 T-nut for the spool holder because of the alteration I had to make, which, JT, you missed because you weren't here. So, no. So, we're going to do it with 1. I don't know whether I'm going to keep the spool holder anyway, to be honest with you. I don't particularly like spool holders on top. I don't quite know why. I just have a fear that they stress the frame out. They probably don't. But I just have this fear that they do. So it would appear I'm a T-nut short. I'll just double check because I've got bits and pieces all over the shop now. Don't apologise, mate. I'm only having a laugh. Right, they've got the spool holder. Yeah, over this side somewhere. They're not giving me an exact measurement. So we'll go for there. That ain't going anywhere with 1 on. I tell you. That ain't going anywhere with 1 on. I ain't going to be concerned about that. I'm more concerned that I've got that. Yeah. You and me both, kid. My wife thinks I talk to myself when I'm in here. But I promise you I don't. I know you're out there. So, what have I got left? I'm going to move the whole thing out of the way. I've just found a T-nut. Oh, don't do this to me now. Whoever's laughing, stop it. No, it's an M4. It's not an M5, it's an M4. I've been saved that embarrassment. I'm going to move everything out of the way and show you the disaster that is left. You can just go watch the bloody video from the beginning. I'm not going to give you a summary. Actually, I might give you a summary. So, bits left over. Hi, guys, by the way. Bits left over. We have got... Well, you know we've got this piece of filament that quite frankly can, yeah. You know we've got the acupuncture needle, cleaning your hot end out. They have chucked in another nozzle, a couple of the connectors for the tubes, but we knew they were there. The guarantee, I think that can probably go over there as well. So, left over, we've got some M4 bolts that I've never even used. So they're obviously spares for parts that were already connected. There are 2 M4 T-nuts, and there are 2 M4 for 16 bolts left over. I mean, basically, there's bits of everything left over. They're the 2 T-nuts that I got out that didn't fit, that I got from my spares. There's a couple of spare M5s there as well, and the longer M5s. There's a couple of those left over. There's a few bits. But don't panic, because I'm sure everything is on and in place. It just means I've got more space for next time. So we're going to move all that out of the way. There's something we need to do, guys. Can anybody remember what we need to do that we haven't double checked yet, that I said I would do? The Z motor issue, yes, possibly. There might be enough bits left. I had to go and grab a couple of washers that I had floating about. But if they use the T-nuts for putting the spool holder on and the bolts for putting the spool holder on, that will cover the problem with the Z motor, if they have that problem. I mean, it might just be me. We don't know, do we? It could just be mine that was an issue. But we got around it, didn't we? Teamwork, you see, guys. We got around it. We got it fixed. We proved it wasn't going to beat us, and I am so pleased you were there, guys, and that you were the ones that said, change it, make it right now, don't leave it, because there's a possibility I would have, if I'd been on my own, I would have gone, nah, it'll be all right, it'll work. And then we could have had issues later. So there's the built machine. I've just got to plug the cables in and have a look at this wonderful wiring setup and see how we are with that, because it's all a bit, isn't it? You know, you can't see, but it's a bit of a mess, really. I mean, it's not as bad as doing an A-net. I mean, crumbs, doing an A-net really was a mess. I've got a couple more to put in than other people will have, because I took my Y-stop end out and my Y-stepper motor end out when I was sorting the cabling out, when I had the top off the box. That's something else I've just noticed. I shall show you that in a minute. This is why it's always good to check everything, because my Y-stop end is as loose can be. What's the battery like? Oh, battery's not doing very well. Let me freehand you again, get you in here. Somewhere near. Get that cable out of the way. Look at that. Sorry, I'm opening the switch at the same time. That's not brilliant, is it? Eh? That's not brilliant. And that wasn't put on by me before anybody mentions it. That is just loosey-loosey. So we'll have that tightened up. Of course, we have got a 1 gigabyte pipe coming into this property, but it ain't turned on yet because my boss sensibly isn't going to pay BT umpteen hundreds of pounds a month just for me to have a 1 gigabyte pipe. So actually, that's the wrong screw. It's those two at the bottom. So at the moment, I have got a. If you buy a CR, check all bolts and connectors. At the moment, I have a modem, which I bought, which I put a SIM card in, and I've got a 3 SIM card, which has got unlimited texts, unlimited minutes, and unlimited internet, and 30 gigabyte of hotspot. And I put that in, and I use that for my internet while I'm doing all this. So I reckon I'm not going to have much left this month after today, but I've got another SIM card, the same. So I can swap over to that if we get into the situation that I run out. Hopefully not while we're doing this. I mean, if it all goes off, it's a possibility that I've run out. The internet has run out on me, but let's hope not. Right, what have we got left here to go in? We've got the power cable in, which we'll sort out later. We've got that in, we've got that in. So we've got the hotbed there. Got this little lot here, which I'm guessing is going up there. We need to get that pipe into there. Pull that out. Make sure it's locked in, which it is. That, I'm guessing, goes into there. I really should be looking at the instructions now, shouldn't I? Somebody tell me off, because I'm not reading the instructions anymore. Okay. Crossing, extruder, and bed cable. Well, I've got them at the moment, so the bed cable is there, and the extruder cable comes up here and through there and up. So I think that's probably the best way to be. If you think otherwise, like I say, if you think otherwise, tough, because that's, I'm going to leave it. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Anybody else think that's going to be an issue? I mean, what I need to do to make sure that when my bed comes all the way back, now I see, yeah, no, we could have an issue there, look. That's going to be tight, you know. However I have that cable fed. That's the end stop there. I am a little bit wary. I'm not going to put it into that clip up there anyway. I'm a little bit wary of that. Especially when, you can't see again, can you? Especially when this gets right to the top, that's going to put extra strain on that. I think I'm going to snip that cable tie so this actually comes off here, and that gives me more room when the gantry is right at the top. It's not putting tension on there, because if the gantry is right at the top and the bed is right back, that cable is going to be awful tight. So I'm going to consider nipping off or even sliding up if it'll slide up, but I'll nip it. Nip off that cable tie and bring it back to here, so then the cable has got more travel when that's right at the top. I mean, mine might be crossing because I've had all my cables to bits. It's entirely possible. I mean, you know the mess I've had to start with, to deal with. But I don't see, without actually unplugging everything, there is a way to get that cable around the other side. I'm just having a look. And I can see what you're saying, but that is soldered on, so I can't take that end off without taking the box out and taking all the cables out and routing it round to the other side. I mean, that could be when they've built it wrong. I don't know whether it's going to be an issue. I could take it all apart, take the hot end off, feed the hot end through, but then all that's still connected. I'd have to clip all those as well. Yeah, let's move the Z to the top. Yeah, I think it's a bit short as well, mate. But like I say, I mean, we're actually catching on the top of the frame there as well. You see that? I mean, it'll flex a bit in time. Right, well, I wouldn't want it to be that high anyway, because that's that's shooting off the top. So we're at full height there. I really wouldn't want any printer to be going up to that height, I tell you now. So with it at that full height there, if I slide the bed back now, that won't physically go all the way back. There's no way. So if you were printing at ridiculous print height, I mean, that's, in fairness, that's probably beyond the full height of the print as they, the print area as they describe it. But even so, that there, I cannot get that hot bed to go all the way back. That is too much tension on there to there. Can I measure it? Do you know, I can. I'm just going to have to nip and grab my tape measure because I've got to do that end stop anyway, haven't I? So let me grab my tape measure. Keep talking, everyone. Keep smiling. I'll be back. Right, so what does this say is the maximum print height? Come on, answers on a postcard. Come on, Gusner. So we want 250. Right? So 250 off the bed. $250 off the bed. See, it's not easy to measure. Let's do it there. You can't see this, but you've got to trust me. 250 is there. That's 250. So, like I say, that ain't working. Even if it was around the other side, that ain't working. That ain't coming back anywhere near far enough. That end stop still hasn't ticked. There, that's the end stop clicking. So that is, I would say, a wee bit too tight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it now, and we'll see if it helps. I am going to snip that off. So now I've got that like that. There we go. Loads of room, loads of spare on that cable. Not fouling in any way, all the way back, all the way forward. So I think that's your answer. They have the cable on the right hand side. Well, they have it over here. So it's actually coming round the bed. Well, that's ridiculous. It's going to catch on there, isn't it? I mean, I could probably... That's battery number 2 gone, guys. Bear with me. Short musical interlude. So where are you going on your holidays this year? Anywhere nice? Nearly there. Power up. And you're back in the room. How about that for magic? Right, so I can kind of, if I do a little bit of twisting about at the bottom, I can get that over that side. Oh, slow down, Matthew. Don't pop anything. So I could, if that was, but you see, I still think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Gusner, but even if I have that clipped there, look, that's still fouling as it comes back. Do you see? Even though I've got it the other side of that now, which in itself isn't in the best of positions, but even so, that's still fouling. Even if I was to clip it to there, it's still fouling. I honestly think having it over there like that is the best answer. Personally, that's what I'm going to go with for now. We'll see how we get on. You know, I'm happy to be proved wrong at a later date. But I think as things stand at the moment, I'm going to go with that. So we've got some of these to go in. We have got 2 of those and 1 of those. So what have we got on there? We've got X on there. E on there. And X on there. So E to extruder. Big X. You can see the top of my head, can't you? That can't be nice for you. Yeah, I've got more grey hairs than I thought I had when I've just looked at that now. That's kids for you. And I've only got one. And she's a little gorgeous 14-year-old pen in there. No, she's lovely, really. Bless her. That onto there. So end stop goes in the end. So that goes in there, like that. So that's that done, that done, that done, that done. Got this to do, haven't we? This is what we needed to sort out before we finished. Oh, JT, thanks so much for bobbing in, mate. You take care. Yeah, thanks a lot. Do appreciate it, mate. It's always good to see you. Right, and we're nearly there anyway, mate. Watch the stream back, and you'll see it go bang. Right, where am I doing? I've got to get that height set, haven't I? Where is it? Where is it? Where did we say it was? Written in really small letters, really difficult to read. 32 mil. So they want 32 mil from the bottom of the extrusion to the bottom of the switch. So bottom of the extruder to the bottom of the switch. Well, that's low. I mean, I believe you. I think, do you know what? I don't think I'm going to take any notice of that. I think, personally, I am going to lower this carriage down till my hot end is nearly on the bed. And then I'm going to set that up to it. I ain't going to do it by measuring. I'm going to be naughty. Zip tie hot end cable with X-axis cable starting from controller box. Then you should have enough move to top and other side. Yeah, might be right, kid. So what I'm going to do now is cheat. Oh, wrong size Allen key again. What is it with me and wrong size Allen keys? I'm going for there. Shall I measure it, see if it's 32 mil? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? It's 35 mil, is what I've set it to. not 32. I've set it to 35. I'll tell you what else I'm going to do while I'm here. I'm going to approximately, before we go any further, get this bed something like might as well do it now, hadn't I? Do you think? Tell you what, it's not beautifully level, but it ain't far off. Tell you what, lads, these weren't set anything like the same. When they built this, they didn't consider getting things anything like the same. Tell you something else I'm going to do. I think at some point is that end stop on the back. I'm going to put concentric nuts on that because when you do that, that isn't switching off till the nozzle is off the front of the base. So I want to have it so that switches off there. So I'll do some nuts on the back of that to do the same thing. I don't know whether that's possibly a bit close. But what we're going to do now is, kids, so we stick some power into it. Do you think? We'll whack some power in. Nothing in the manual at all, but it's fixed. The bolts that are in it are, if you're talking about the micro switch on the back, the bolts that are in it are fixed. They'll be threaded into the extrusion. But I just, don't ask me why, I just don't like the idea of it being that far back. So, can't have any beer. Not allow beer while I'm working. When I'm chatting late at night, no problem. But while I'm working, I'm working. Right, so time for a bit of power, I reckon. I just happen to have a lead down the bottom here. So I think without further ado, kids, we'll see if anything happens. Everybody ready? Everybody stood well back. We're watching for smoke coming out of here. Well, you can't see that. But we are indeed up and running. We are indeed up and running. Screen's all right. We haven't got that issue that other people are having with the screens being too tight. That seems to be all right. We're not going to do auto home. Should we do some heat bed tests? We do that first. What should we do first? Should we do heat bed tests? Should we do hot end tests? What would you like to see? What do you reckon, kids? Let's make, oh, movement. All right, sorry. Right, movement. So, control. Prepare. Right, we're doing 0.1 increments. I know I'm a chicken. So that's moving. That's all right, isn't it? Eh? Should we try doing that in slightly bigger increments? Or should we move on to... That sounds like I've got a little bit of a binding issue there. It might clear itself. But that just sounded like that rod was binding ever so slightly. Bah, that's noisy, isn't it? Not used to that. Oh, Mr. Prusa makes that much quieter. So there we go. That's all moving hunky-dory, is that? All my cables are all right. I think that rod, I'll tell you what, I'm sorry about that, I just shook you all to buggery, haven't I? I think that rod, because they've put that grease on it, is picking up fine bits of grit and dirt. And I think that's what I can hear. I think it just needs running from the top to the bottom a couple of times, and that will make a big difference. But we certainly seem to be... I'm not ready for auto homing yet. I don't know about you. It's always a worry the first time you do that. But we certainly got axis movements. Except he thinks that's home at the moment. What does that tell you? Answers on a postcard. Why is that showing X as being at home? Well, you can't really see because it's too bright. That reckons X is at home when that's there. So what's wrong with that then, lads? Anybody care to hazard a guess? No, not because of the switch. Because the switch is fine. The switch is over here. I think, I could be wrong, but I think they've got the cable the wrong way around, the switch the wrong way around inside. If it thinks that's 0, is there an end stop test? I very much doubt there's an end stop test. I think what it is that the plug is in the wrong way around in the control box. That's my initial thoughts. I could be wrong. Let me see. Let's just You can't read that screen, can you? It's far too bright. Yeah, I might do that. That might be a plan. Gusner, I will do that with one hand. I should really have my hand on the off switch as well, shouldn't I, when I do it? Oh, don't put it up too high. Right, we'll have it there. Right, I'll move that switch up. Auto home. Ah, will you look at that? Maybe it needs to do the first auto home. Of course, now it will probably set itself as 0, won't it? Looking good. Yeah. No, it sets itself. Good lad. Right, should we do some temperature now then? You think? Okay, so let's do control, temperature. We see how much this hot end smells. Nozzle. Right, who's going to... I tell you what, we'll do the bed first. We'll do the bed. Let's say 60 degrees on the bed. That's about an average temp, innit? And then, Gusner, can you time it? Have you got a stopwatch or something on your phone? And let you time it and see how long it takes to get to 60 degrees. Should we go for that? Is that a plan? Yeah, there is that. Right. Who's got a stopwatch handy? Anybody got a stopwatch handy? Well, you might have a delay, but it'll still take the same amount of time whether you have a delay or not, won't it? So let's go. I'm on the wrong thing again now, aren't I? Control. Temperature. Right, so we're going to go for 60 degrees then. So 60 degrees. Ready, and go. Well, it's warming up. That's a good start. The fan's certainly kicked in on the power supply. That's warming up quite nicely though, isn't it? I mean, it's not ultimately rapid, but better than some I've seen. Don't I have a cold with 14 degrees? No, mate. This is warm for England. So 30 degrees, 27 seconds. That's not bad, is it? Less than 30 seconds. Oh, 57. I thought he'd gone a bit quick. We're up to 40. Still going. So I'm reckoning on what? Probably 3 minutes by the time it gets to 60. I'm quite impressed with that. I don't think that's any slower than my Proscia, I'll be honest with you. I'm quite impressed with that. From 14 degrees, like you say, I should have a cold. But we're English, you know, we're strong, we're hardy types. So there you go, 60 degrees now. So if it's 60 degrees, and I reckon, what, 2.5 minutes? And there you are, it's holding at 60, 61 degrees. The fan on the power supply's dropped back, 252. What do you think, Gusner? Do you think that's all right? Do you think that's fairly fast? I'm quite impressed with that myself. Right, we're going to do nozzle. I know I should have some filament in it. Don't badger me, but I'm not going to have it up for long. We'll just have it up. Right, what should we set the nozzle to? 210? 210, 215, let's say. Let's go for 215 for the nozzle. It's a nice temperature for PLA, isn't it? Oh, I hate it when it does that. There we are, 215. Right, just let me get ready. And go. So we started at 14 degrees with the nozzle, I think it was, or even 12 degrees on the nozzle, wasn't it? $13. Okay. You know, there's always one. That's better. Well, that's climbing fairly rapidly. I'm quite impressed with that. So that's over halfway in probably a minute or so. That's impressive. That's 24 volt for you. Oh, and I'm getting the odor now. It almost smells like soldering. 214. Oh, look at that. 212. I had to do a bit of work on that. It's just pushing itself up. Yeah, a bit of PID tuning, absolutely. There we are, 215. So what was that, a minute and a half? Right, I'm going to cool that down now. Let's see if there's a cool down. Let's get her back down. We'll get that bed down as well. Well, I'm impressed with that. Gotta say I'm impressed. That wasn't a bad time. I mean, I'm sure it's going to take a bit longer when you're doing both together. But no, I was quite impressed with that. So the screen is pretty much the same as. Oh, there is a cool down look. Pretty much the same as everything else. There's nothing. Nothing majorly different in that. So there we go, working machine. Like I say, I haven't sliced anything to go on it. I'm not going to do what's on the SD card because that I think is a fake. Well, it's not a fake, but I think it's there just to prove how brilliant they are, isn't it? And I think I might leave it at that for now. Nobody wants to see me printing it. Nobody wants to see me leveling the bed. I will have a look at that for the cable management, certainly, yeah. But I think for now we'll leave it at that. We've been going 3 hours. But yeah, up and running. We've solved a few issues, a few problems. Thanks, guys, for watching. I do appreciate it. Thanks for the live stream. Yes, that live stream was something very special, wasn't it? So turn around and see me for 2 minutes. There we go. Yeah. Oh, I'm all wobbly into cock, as they say. Am I still all wobbly? I'm a bit sideways on, but we won't worry about it. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Thanks, Gusner, for your idea, sorting those little problems out. Interested about that Z stepper motor and the fact it wasn't sitting flat. But yeah, it's up, it's built. I'll get the bed leveled. I'll get some PLA through it. I'll slice something on S3D using Chris Elkin's profile. I'll just change the bed size. I'll get something whacked through it. I'll get some pictures on Facebook tonight. And I'll kind of leave it at that, guys. I'll get those other tables built as well. I might stick some pictures on those tables when I get them built. But like I say, thanks you guys for watching. Don't forget, most of you have liked already. Leave a comment in the video when it goes up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And I will mention that elephant in the room, my Patreon. If any of you got a couple of quid, a couple of pounds, whatever, a couple of dollars a month you could spare, that will help me keep bringing you content that you want to see, I would appreciate it. I will continue whatever happens, but it would just be nice if I could just do some better things for you. You know, be able to afford to buy some mods for this so I can do some stuff on it. But like I say, the most important thing is that you subscribe and you watch and you give me those thumbs up because it means a lot. It means that I'm not wasting my breath. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. In the UK now, it is 4:27 in the afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a nice time. And I'll see you in the next video. Ta-ra now.